My name is Tiffany Spraggins-Payne. You are listening to Zigzag, a weekly podcast discussing women in science, technology, transportation, engineering, entrepreneurship, mathematics, and related industries. On Zigzag, we discuss inclusion and diversity news, current trends, and have special guests speak about their experiences, including their competitive edge in the marketplace. Today, my guest is Miss Judith Burton. She's the founder of ArvaSero Consulting, which provides a full range of services to implement projects that envision integration of natural ecosystems and builds environments, and is focused on serving communities that have a historical experience in disinvestment. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So before we dive into this interview with both feet, I just want you to talk to us about how you've gotten started in the environmental space and why did you choose to work on natural resources?
Well, I attended college to study agriculture. I was always interested in going to the country and working with my hands and getting dirty. And so I decided that I wanted to study agriculture and join Peace Corps. Because at the time, I really believed that food security was about people not understanding how to grow things, but we now know it's more political.
Yes.
And so I did my undergraduate degree in soil science at Alabama A&M, and then I did a graduate study at Purdue for agronomy. Ultimately, internally, I also wanted to be a county extension agent. I really wanted to talk to people about better ways or the way they were doing things and just to kind of be in that space. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work that way. And I ended up with my first job working at the Tennessee Tom-Bigby Waterway and looking at acid soils. So that was actually my initial segue into the more environmental side of things. The problem they had was that they had excavated all of these soils to make this big waterway.
Yes.
And it had created a acidic environment, and all of the soil was eroding back into the waterway and filling it up. So our job was to come up with alternative ways to increase pH and get plants established. So that was my very first kind of turning my soils in a different direction from crop production.
Wow, that is really interesting because growing up, many of my family members, they called me the young Black agriculturalist, and stuck out like a sore thumb, not only in my family, but also in my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. I went to Saul High School of Agricultural Sciences, which is the only agricultural school here in the city of Philadelphia and in the country, high school. Us students, we were always excited when we can put together the perfect mix of mushroom soil, right? And so just talk to us about how you've been able to work on these various variations of soils and what has been some of your findings?
As I said, initially I started out with this acid soil project. I'll be dating myself, but the Clean Water Act brought in management and control and regulations for wetlands. And one of the parameters to determine a wetland is soils, hydric soils.
Yes.
And as a result of that, I got an opportunity to work for a firm called Woodward Clyde Consulting many, many moons ago to delineate wetlands up and down the Northeast from upstate New York down to North Carolina because of my soils background. So what started to happen now was my experience was moving more towards the regulatory needs to support projects that needed to identify and then avoid wetlands via soils.
And so what are you doing now in terms of working with these various soil types?
I spent a lot of years working with wetlands and wetlands restoration and working for the DEP, looking at projects that could impact wetlands and other resources. It gradually shifted into kind of stormwater related issues. And one of the components of addressing that is like rain gardens and soils component of rain gardens. And so now I've kind of transitioned back to how I started, and I'm working in urban agriculture, which is a challenge with the soil conditions because a lot of times you have to remediate them and they don't have the same kind of what they call profile and drainage structure, but you have to be able to kind of, modify and think and make what you have on the ground work. So now I'm working on a farm in Trenton.
Okay.
And dealing with soils and agriculture and production.
There's been a huge movement around stormwater management. And so could you talk to us about some of the projects that you worked on where stormwater management has been a resource?
Stormwater, I think we're a little bit more aware of it now because we're using the management of stormwater to generate what we call the triple bottom line benefits in the city of Philadelphia through the Green City Clean Waters plan. So folks are knowing a lot more about stormwater in terms of just having the word. I have been more engaged with stormwater as pursuing different projects that look at how these systems work in terms of stormwater management system, looking at the planning of them, where they should go, and looking at how they might enhance a community by simply putting a rain garden in a particular location or on a school ground, and at the same time deal with a problem.
Now, you're also skilled in developing marketing and business strategies to leverage organizational and staff capabilities across technical disciplines. I mean, unpack that for us.
Well, when you're a project manager and you're working in a multidisciplinary firm that's doing a lot of engineering projects that also have environmental components to them, you generally have to work with the various discipline leads to kind of understand what's needed when it's needed.
Yes.
And so that's a big component of it. So, for example, if I'm working on a project where it's a big bridge replacement and I'm managing the environmental component of that, that also includes dealing with historical, cultural resource issues. That also deals with air and noise issues. That deals with the water issues. That deals with the environmental justice issues. So and the engineers who are actually designing it need to know how to avoid all of those things. So you have to be able to communicate with everybody because the ultimate goal is, in my role, is to get the approvals. Yes. And everything was very time sensitive. So pulling people together, usually from different offices, various locations, other consultants that's on the team, that's part of the leveraging the stakeholders, meaning the regulatory folks, the community people, in being able to tie that all together and make that work smoothly so that you can meet your schedules when you need to meet them. So that's one component of it. Another thing that I've done is I do a lot of business development. So in pursuing opportunities for the organizations, you have to recognize what the capabilities are of the organization.
Yes.
And what's missing and where you can get that and how you bring that together to say, we can actually pursue certain opportunities because we do have all of the resources. It's just kind of in different places. So that's part of what I've done in the past is bring those things together to pursue opportunities for organizations I've worked for.
And so ArvaSero Consulting, you're the founder, and you've worked for these other corporations, consulting firms. How long has ArvaSero Consulting been in existence?
Since May 2017, so it's relatively new.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And what made you decide to go out and venture on your own to do this work?
Well, I think that the years of experience I've had and the opportunity to do interesting things within certain organizations sometimes can become pretty limited. That you can be focused as the business development person. Yes. And so you don't get to do a lot of the technical work that you might need to do, want to do to continue to develop your skills. And so I just came to a point where I felt that it was best for me in order to do the things that I find more interesting and more rewarding to do it on my own. And so I decided that I really want to work within the urban ecosystems because I've always enjoyed those types of projects. Yes. And I'm particularly interested in communities that have been disenfranchised, to be able to work with folks in those communities to bring some of these opportunities there.
Now, would you say, because you are a trained scientist and agronomist, did I say that correctly? Agronomist. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Would you say that that's your competitive advantage? I mean, going out on your own, what would you say? Would you say that that's what makes you unique in the services you provide?
It's one of the things. I think what really makes me unique is actually more about how persistent I am and how I will work on behalf of what's needed. I think I have an ability to take a look and to identify what's needed and to work with people to bring that to the table. So my technical experience is there, but it's more what I've learned in terms of managing people and resources.
Yes.
That I think is what gives me a little bit of a leverage for the things that I'm doing now.
I think that's really interesting because according to a Pew study, women in STEM with more education are more skeptical about where they work and how they're usually treated, more so than women who are promoted within an organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this Pew study states that 52% of those who have postgraduate degrees say that women are usually treated fairly versus 76% of women with some college or less working experience in the STEM field. So, I mean, you have the technical training, but you also have the degrees to back up your capabilities. And would you say that you've worked with other women, whether it's within the organizations that you've worked for or now having your own consultancy practice? You know, how have you been able to work with women on both ends of the spectrum, those with college degrees and those with not, or little to none?
From a practical standpoint, I haven't worked with a lot of women that did not have college degrees, just by nature of the business that I've been in.
Okay.
Now, of course, I've also worked with, the administrative staff or other staff, and I've never really saw any big difference in terms of the folks that I've worked with in terms of promotions and so forth.
Okay.
In those two levels. But I definitely can see that when you're in the space of the educated, degreed person, your competition is going to be a little bit different.
Okay. How so?
You will be more, I think you can be more challenged in that the people might initially see you as a threat. And so therefore could be more challenging to you. For example, I had a situation once in one organization where I prepared a bid package for a big project and ended up having to select the fourth highest bidder because that's the one that was responsive.
Yes.
And the male engineer basically told me I was wrong and that I would have to accept the lowest bidder. And I said no. I went through the process to make sure that it was clear what our needs were. And ultimately, I was proven right in the sense that our legal supported my position. Those are some of the things you'd come up against. It's from a technical standpoint. There are those who would want to challenge you and push you because you're in that field within that time. But, if you're doing what you're doing and you're doing it well, you just need to basically hold your ground on that.
Now, having your own consultancy practice, we understand the need, especially for what you do, to work with more, not only just women, but men and others who have the experience, the technical background, and certainly the education. You want to work with more individuals like that as you team and go after these other projects and opportunities. But from a social impact perspective, have you thought about, or is there some aspect of your business where you seek to cross-train or mentor those who may not necessarily have the technical experience and education that you've benefited from?
I think it's really important as we look at communities that are underserved. One of the things that I'm interested is really expanding green in these communities because I think through the green economy, through green infrastructure, through
you mentioned
urban,
B Corps.
Yeah, urban farming, that you can actually create opportunities for people. Currently, one of the jobs I'm working on now is with Capital City Farm in Trenton, and that's working with folks from the community and developing management capabilities within the farm, staffing, just making sure people are learning developing the technical skills about farming itself, but also the management from personnel to organizational management and working with people to develop those skills that they probably would not have an opportunity in another structure to develop. And for them to take that and grow with that in their own entrepreneur opportunities. So that's the space that I'm looking to work in and expand
Yes.
at this point in time.
It seems like at the heart of what you do, community and economic development, it's really core to the impact that you want to have in your work. How did you come about that? Like why community and economic development? You can do what you're doing anywhere, but why urban environments?
Well, I think they speak to me because they have been neglected. And when the environment gets neglected, the people get neglected. And so I feel if you can restore the environment, if you can restore beauty and functionality,
yes,
while creating entrepreneurial opportunities, it's one way of helping to heal some of these communities. For me, at this point in time in my life, it's actually always been a part of me. I mean, my very first thing I ever wanted to do was to be a missionary doctor. And the next thing was to join I just think naturally working with people and working in ways in which can impact their lives and allow them opportunities to generate what they want to do is something I just find that's core to who I am.
Wow. And you mentioned having gone through Peace Corps. I mean, it's no easy feat.
Oh, I didn't actually. I wanted to.
Oh, you wanted to?
Yes. I didn't go. And it's still a regret.
Why?
Why I didn't go?
Yeah, why didn't you go?
Oh, my
mom. And why
do
you regret it?
Well, I should have done it. My mom didn't want me to. So I ended up not doing it.
Okay. I've been there. I wanted to join the Navy after college because I just knew that I was going to do something in the environmental space. And my mother said no. And in my family, there's so many folks who have gone through the military, some branch.
Yeah.
But talk to us a little bit more about why your mom said no and why you sat with that decision.
Well, we're an immigrant family. And I'm the oldest. And she depended on me in a way that wasn't like she needed me, but she didn't. I think she feared that's what I got. She feared my leaving would be my demise. So I made a decision not to give her that worry, that I would do it some other time. But you know how life goes.
Yes. you zig and you zag and you find something else.
Yeah.
To fill the need, right? So talk to us about, what success means to you. Having all of this experience and knowledge behind you, and now you're creating opportunities for others in front of you. What does success mean to you?
Well, it's a good question. For me, success is being able to do what you enjoy, what your purpose is, whatever that is, and to be able to work towards your true purpose. And for you to have your needs met. So for me, it's if I'm able to be successful, it will be that I'm achieving my purpose. And I think it is to work in this area of helping communities recover and restore from the effects of redlining.
Wow, that's powerful. And why redlining? Just curious.
Because I've always been interested in, like I said, I'm an immigrant. So you learn a lot about America gradually. You don't just come and understand all of its pieces and its complexities. Yes. And I've always been curious as to why cities with majority Black populations look the way they do in parts. And I've come to realize it's very much by design. It didn't just happen. Yes. And so as I understand redlining and the policies that were put in place, I now believe that undoing the red line is a very grassroots movement from the community, from the we. And so I work with others and connect with others who have that perspective and want to assist the communities create the opportunities to put policies in place that can allow communities to thrive, because it will just be another period of which the redlining continues and we don't quite understand why these conditions are the way they are. We just think people are we're lazy, we're this, we're that. But no, it's very much, and as I said, as an immigrant, you believe that you can pull everything up by your bootstraps, and then you kind of live and you recognize that not everybody gets boots, much less the straps. Recognizing that for me has redirected how I want to operate. And so within those communities like Trenton is where I want to be able to fulfill my purpose, which I think is this.
You have a very interesting perspective. I love that you shared that, from an immigrant's perspective, you notice the history, what's going on around you in the environment gradually. Just tell our audience about your perspective, like what's your worldview? Every day when your feet hit the floor, what's that aspirational thing that you're trying to do?
I think it's a little bit painful. For me, I think what I recognize very strongly is that the foundational focus of this country is one of white supremacy. That I would not have recognized. You recognize racism and things like that, but I think, coming to understand it as a foundational piece of America is, I'd say, new. Not that it's just new today, but really clear. And then the second thing, once I recognize that, is that I believe in my favorite psychologist is Carl Gustav Jung, and he has a perspective about the collective unconscious. And that since most of what we do is from the unconscious, that just like families operate a certain way, societies operate a certain way, and a lot of things are driven from that collective unconscious of the society. So I find that America's collective unconsciousness is white supremacy, is racism, and is very conditioned. I don't think people are necessarily born racist per se, but the society has conditioned us, and it's been going on for so long. So that when you think about something like redlining, what's the motivator? How does someone think that that's okay to put policies in place that result in things that they very well know will occur? And I think it just comes from that place of a conditioning that's based on a foundation. I feel that the only way to counter that is to disrupt the unconscious. And so how do you disrupt that in a society? You have to disrupt it by doing very, very grassroots and different things, because it's not simply about a march or anything like that. You have to shake people and you have to do it community by community, almost individual. So I feel that the community that has been disadvantaged must understand why. It can't just be we were disadvantaged. Kind of have to understand the structure so that you can disrupt it.
Right.
Because it has to be disrupted internally first. Coming to that place is why I want to operate very much in a space where I'm working to create opportunities and connect people back to the earth, because we came from there. We were great growers. We're so disaffected and want to avoid work because it's been embedded with shame. So we have to undo that. So there's a lot of undoing. And I think through these urban initiatives of urban farming, that is the space in which we begin to undo it within the communities.
Wow, that is powerful. And so with that being said, Judy, just want to thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your journey, sharing your truth, but then also empowering those who may not necessarily know about the great work that you've done with soil management, being a scientist, agronomist. Did I say that correctly?
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
Agronomist. And ArvaSero Consulting. It's a fledgling business. It's been around for a year. But you are looking to take on more projects. And you are looking to empower and educate more individuals who want to learn about natural resources in the environmental space. So for those who are interested in connecting with you, how might they get in touch with you?
Go to my website, ArvaSero.com, and contact me. And I am very much interested in connecting with organizations that are working in multiple spaces, but might find connections, because one of the things I want to pursue is like their funding. There's a lot of funding mechanisms out there, and to generate the funds to support projects like this. And so that's one of the ways to make it happen.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And today, for our listeners, our guest was Ms. Judith Burton. She is the founder of ArvaSero Consulting, which provides a full range of services to implement projects that envision integration of natural ecosystems and build environments and focus on serving communities that have a historical experienced disinvestment. For more information about Zigzag and the Grit Live, visit theenterprisecenter.com and find us under the For Entrepreneurs tab. My name is Tiffany Spraggins-Payne, and I'm signing off.
Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Martin, the production consultant for The Grit Live. If you enjoy our programming, the most important thing you can do to support us is share each episode with your friends and family. You can also leave us a rating and a review on the podcast player of your choice to help others find us. On behalf of everyone on the Grit Live team, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for your support and helping us get to 20 episodes of Zigzag. And that includes all of you out there who have been ardent supporters from day one and have never missed an episode, and anybody out there that's listening for the first time. It doesn't matter. Thank you for the support. We really appreciate it. And so here's to 20 more.